All right guys, so while I'm on my way to the dentist, I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit. So there's really 6 reasons or 6 things to consider in why we bought the house or why we built the house instead of doing the 5-year plan like I had mentioned before. The first thing you have to consider, and that we considered, was the 5-year plan was actually built and thought of during a time when I was single, before I met Jess. And of course that idea still fostered while I was meeting Jess, when I met Jess, when I was getting to know Jess, and then as Jess came to the US. So it was still an idea, still something going on in my mind. And it wasn't until after Jess was here a little while and different things transpired that that 5-year plan began to change. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm headed to the dentist now. I'll elaborate on the other 2 through number 6 things as I get back from the dentist, but I hope I can, guys, because my mouth may be numb from the dental work. Yes guys, I am getting my grill did. I went to the dentist a week or 2 ago and they told me I had a couple of cavities, which was shocking at first because I had my first cavity when I was like 24 and I never had another one since. Once I went back to the dentist this year, they told me, oh, you have like 3 or 4 cavities. They're very small. I think you can't look in my mouth and actually see like this big nasty black spot or anything. It's more like a stain, so I think they're being more proactive at, hey, let's take care of it now while it's a small stain / blemish before it turns into something bigger. So anyway, that's what we're doing. They're very small. I had 2 taken care of last week. They're gonna do the other 1 or 2 this week, or today actually, and that's it. So that's what's going down today. As soon as I'm done with that, we're gonna finish this informative vlog, and I just hope that my mouth's not so numb that I can't talk, but I think it'll be okay. All right, so let's go. Let's do this dentist thing. Bye. Okay guys, so I made it here to the dentist. This is never fun. Like, who likes to get their teeth drilled on? It's like nervousness. Needles in your gums, drilling on your teeth, no fun, but let's do this. All right guys, so I'm in the chair. I've got some topical numbing agent here on this Q-tip to numb me up before I get jabbed with the needle. We'll see. Guys, you know the work is serious and there's some damage to be done when you have your own safety glasses. Joke alone. It's not damage. They do a good job. It's for your protection.
For me, please. Yeah, put it out. Strong pinch right here. Good, a little burn. Keep breathing. That's it. Good job. Keep breathing. You're doing wonderful.
Okay guys, so you saw the needle going in. So my lip from here over is already getting numb. Got my safety glasses. They're gonna go in and do some drilling, cracking, I don't know, and then taking some crap out, putting some fillings in. So anyway, I really didn't feel it, guys, because of the topical solution. So they do a really good job here. My last visit, didn't feel anything. Same thing, topical on this side, inject with a needle, didn't really feel the needle. You feel a little pressure. And then a couple of minutes later, you let it sit for a couple of minutes later, do the work, in and out, good. Can't feel anything. All right guys, teeth are done. Everything went great, painless, great experience, but give me a few hours because I can't talk. You see my mouth is kind of sideways. My tongue and my lower jaw and teeth, gums and everything are numb from here over. So give me a few hours and I'll come back and we'll finish this video, okay? All right guys, I got my face back. My numbness is gone. I'm finally here at the house, obviously. As you can see, it's nighttime, it's dark outside. It took a while for my face to come back, but it did. It's been a little while. We've cooked, we've had dinner, did a couple of things. So anyway, let's get back to it. As I said before, there's 6 things that shaped the reason and idea of going from paying cash for a house back home, which is Mississippi for me, in a 5-year plan to now obviously building a house in California. So I told you the first one, which was earlier in the video when I talked about the history of that idea and how it was built and formulated without Jess, because it was pre-Jess coming into my life. Now, when Jess came here, she was all on board with that idea. She didn't say, I don't want to do that, or I think that's a bad idea. She was game. She was down with it. Okay, Siki Dow, let's do it if you think that's what's best. So now that you know that, the second point is, and the second thing that happened to help transpire this change is when Jess came here, I was a travel nurse at that time and had been a travel nurse for a while. So I ended up taking a full-time job, knowing that Jess and I would either be here for 5 years or we wouldn't be here for 5 years. But nonetheless, during that 5 years, we could sit still in the same community, same area, and just work for those 5 years. When I did that, I took a full-time job after being a travel nurse for so long, and I really enjoyed the job. I did it for insurance purposes, to be a responsible husband to Jess and get us both some really good insurance as a new married couple. But I really enjoyed the job. It is one of the best jobs that I've ever had. I really like the company. I really like the structure of how they manage nurses and just the whole healthcare paradigm altogether. I just really like the way they do it. So that was kind of the second thing that influenced it, is being into a job that I really like. The salary's really good, you're treated really well, the patient demographics are really good, and yeah, that was a big part of it too, was really liking my job. I nursed in Mississippi before I ever left Mississippi, so I know what it's like there, and I know what it's like in California, particularly here in the Sacramento, Placer County area. So that was another little thing that just kind of nudged me like, hey, you know, do you really want to leave? Do you really want to leave? So that's number two. So the third thing was, now that I know that I'm in this job that I really like, the other thought was, if we go home to Mississippi, even if we pay cash for the house, I'm still gonna have to work as a nurse. So then I started thinking, okay, I like my job. Do I want to go back to Mississippi and still have to work? Because even if the house is paid for, I'll still have to work for utilities, groceries, entertainment, just life in general. I'll still have to work. So now it became, okay, number two was I like my job. Now number three point that was digging in my head was, do I really want to go back there and work? Do you really want to leave this nice job? And as you guys know, we spend a lot of time at our jobs, right? So a lot of people are 40 hours a week at work. So if you're like me, I'm only 32 hours, which is less, but it's still a lot of time. 32 hours at work. Do you want to go grind somewhere for 32 hours a week, somewhere that you don't like it, and always remembering in the back of your head, like, man, that job in California was so good. I wish I was back there. So that's what kept digging on me, is I like my job. Now that I know I like my job, do I really want to go back to Mississippi and work, or just in general, anywhere in the South? Do I want to go back there and work versus this really nice job I have in Cali? So that's a big part of it, the whole job thing. Going into number four is still kind of in the whole job money thing that really stuck out in my mind about going home versus Cali, was that if you look at the scenario, the cost of living in the South, where I'm from, is a lot less than California. California is like one of the highest places in the United States to live, but if you look at the cost of living there, it's a lot lower than California, which is why I was able to formulate the idea to pay cash for a house, since I'm in California making their salary. But in saying that, let's just use some fake numbers here. Let's say I pay cash for my house in Mississippi, and then I get my paycheck. Because of the cost of living being less in Mississippi, also the wages are less. We can all imagine that, right? So let's just use hypothetical numbers that if my paycheck is $1,000, I take that home after taxes. My paycheck is $1,000 and I only have to pay utilities, food, and entertainment off of that. Then in comparison to California, the way my salary is here, my pay, my take-home pay, even after you subtract the house that we built, even after you subtract that payment, I still have more than double the money I would if I went home to Mississippi with a paid for house. So it's kind of like the house isn't even an equation anymore. Now, the reason I didn't think of that or know of that before when I came up with the 5-year plan is because I was a travel nurse, and I was actually making less as a travel nurse then than I am now where I'm working. So basically, you can take the house out of the equation. I can have a paid for house in Mississippi and have a certain amount of salary, or I could stay in California, have a house that I'm paying for, and my salary, my income is still way up here after that house payment. So it kind of null and voids the house and you still take more money home. So that is number 4 reason. And with that said, having that more money left over, regardless of the house, allows us to invest more money in retirement for an easier living when we are in our retired years, Davao. So the 5th thing that came to mind when I was thinking of the pros and cons of staying on that plan versus diverting and staying here in Cali is family. Family's super important. And I think we all can agree that, you know, there's nothing like family. You'll never get your time back that you lose with family. So one of the things I really had to consider that weighed a lot on my heart was my family back home. And if we stayed here in Cali, that means we'd get to see them less. So that weighed a lot on my heart, thinking about my family back home if we stayed out in Cali to work. But when I started looking at numbers and really started looking at it analytically, I don't know about a lot of people, but I know me in the scenario I know that I see a lot of people living in, and I know that would be my scenario, is if Jess and I were at home and we had, you know, a few knocks running around, I would be going to work, you know, Monday through Friday, whatever. I'd be working a lot of days out of the week like any normal person does, 30 to 40 hours a week. Jess would be taking care of the kids in the house. And we would more than likely only go visit my family maybe one day a week, which would be on a Saturday when everybody's off, right? And we would go there for like 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday, probably have dinner with my folks, or my folks would come over and have dinner with us. So if you look at that and you add up 3 to 4 hours a week, you know, which would be that one day a week, multiply that by all the weeks out of the year, it only comes out to like 150 something, I think 158 is what I calculated, to 200 something hours a year, right? Versus the alternative, if we stayed in Cali and worked out here, then I told my dad, I said, hey, you know, we'll come home 2 to 3 times a year for a week at a time. Well, if you take that time and just figure we'll be awake and spending time, maybe 12 hours a day with family for that week, right? So 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for 7 days for that week's vacation, and then you do that twice a year, that's virtually the same as the first example I gave you. So you get to spend, I don't know if it would be more quality time or what, but you get to spend that whole week with them. And I know some people would say, you know, well, your family has to go to work while you're just hanging out there. My dad actually has the ability to work from home over the phone. So if and when we do go home to visit, he usually stays home, or he runs to the office and then comes back home real quick. So when we do go home to visit in this time that Jess has been here, we get to see my family a lot because, like I said, my dad doesn't have to go to work 9 to 5 like a lot of people. He's very fortunate in that. So that is a 5th consideration, that, you know, if we do stay out here, we'll be able to go home and take these week vacations and spend a lot of time with family. So that was the negative thing, but that's the way I kind of mixed it in my head to say, this will be okay, we can make this work. All right, and last but not least, number 6. So this reason right here was kind of like the icing on the cake of my decision, saying, hey, I really think we should stay here. And of course, this is not a decision I made alone. I talked to Jess about this and we made this decision together, and she agreed with me. And also, she's a very loving, supporting wife. She said, you know, ultimately, whatever you decide, I'll support. Staying in California really allows us to be surrounded by kababayans. I know this is funny, but you know, there's so much culture and diversity in California, and I really like that. I do and I don't. One of the things I love about the Philippines when I go to the Philippines is everybody's pretty much Filipino, and there's no struggle of this culture and that culture or this race and that race. I really love that about the Philippines, because in America, there's a lot of struggling cultures and diversities and ethnicities that, but with that said, being that I am in a Filipino-American relationship, California is a really great place for Filipinos. And so once Jess came here, that really started making me think, you know, do I really want to raise our kids in a place where there's no other Filipinos? Not that I think that our kids couldn't be great kids, without other Filipinos, but I think it would be very, very important and crucial that our kids know their mother's heritage and their Filipino culture. And what not better way for them to get that than to be surrounded by other Filipinos. There's not a lot of Filipinos in Mississippi. There's not a lot of Filipinos in the South. There may be a few pockets here and there, but what I find is the majority of those that are in the South are usually mature age Filipinos, maybe lolas, that are retired there with their American husbands. There's not a lot of families. There may be a few, but with all that said, there's not a huge group of diversity there so far as the Filipino culture. And what is that dance with the bamboo sticks? What is that dance with the bamboo sticks, love? Tinikling. Tinikling. So I can't imagine my kids ever learning or knowing anything about tinikling dancing in Mississippi. But in California, I see people doing that. Like, I see groups getting together. I see them on Facebook or whatever in these groups. So I feel like it's very important for my family, my nuclear family, that my kids grow up, our kids, sorry, grow up speaking Tagalog, speaking Bisaya, having friends to speak Bisaya to, Tagalog to, and just to interact with people that understand their culture and not feeling like an outsider or feeling ashamed or, you know, embarrassed of their Filipino culture, or to speak a different language, or to be picked on because they look different. And not saying that that would happen in Mississippi, and not saying that it won't happen in California, but I just know how surrounded we are by Filipinos in California, and how many Asian supermarkets we have around us in California. And in Mississippi, it's not that much. And in thinking of all that, you know, I think about Jess, and you know, would Jess feel lonely in Mississippi when there's no kabayans there and there's no one else to speak Tagalog to or Bisaya? You know, and I have to think as a husband to do my duty to give her a good, comfortable life, and thinking of her and what she sacrificed to be here with me. She gave up everything she knows. She gave up living in her culture, living near her family, living in her country. There's so much that she forfeited to be here for me, for love, which I greatly appreciate. And I'm so lucky that I have that and I have her, that I think, what could I give her? If it is stay in California and surround her with her culture, the little bit of her culture that is here in the US, which is in a big state like California, or take her home to Mississippi, which I love Mississippi, and I think Jess would be fine there, but you know, it's like living in the province with no Filipinos around you. So, you know, that was a big decision. So everything 1 through 5 was probably 20% of my decision, and thinking of Jess was about 40% of my decision, and thinking of our unborn children was about 40%. So it was really, I was really impacted, guys, and my thoughts really changed when we were pregnant. And as you know from previous videos, that pregnancy didn't work out. But when we got pregnant, that's when all this started turning in my head. As you know, a lot of people say you'll do anything for your kids. So it's when we got pregnant that I really started thinking about, oh my God, where do I want to raise my kids? You know, do I want it to be in the province in Mississippi, where I grew up, where I felt sheltered? And not that my parents tried to shelter me from the world, but my parents were working class parents, so they didn't have a bunch of money to travel us around and let us experience different cultures in the world. And so when I think about my kids, I think, do I want them to feel the same way? Do I want them to feel trapped in the province and not know any other life or any other culture? And California is, you know, different from that. California will, you know, show them that there's so many more opportunities out there in the world, and that there's so many other cultures to understand and respect. And, you know, Philippines is just a puddle hop away from California. You get on a plane in Cali and you can land in the Philippines. Mississippi is not that same way. You have to take a plane from Mississippi to Texas to California to Philippines. So I don't know, guys. That's my rationale. Those are my 6 things that I really tossed in my head to come to this conclusion, and I hope that gives you guys clarity. I hope I didn't ramble too much on this, but that's it. it all boiled down to really my job, Jess, and Anak. And Anak's not here yet, but hopefully 2018, 2019. Hopefully, praying. But anyway, that's it, guys. It was a new awesome job, the best asawa ever that I want to make happy, and Anak that I want to be surrounded by his or her culture and not be lonely in the province, diba? So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm gonna wrap this up. If you don't follow us on IG, hit us up on IG, because every now and then we drop some videos, we drop some pictures on there. So there's different things going on. What else can I tell you guys? Facebook page is gonna change. Right now it's Davao Dreamin. I hope all of you guys that are following us there will follow us over when we change it to, I don't know what it's gonna be, Jake and Jesset's Life, Jake and JessetsFilAmLife, but we're gonna put a new page up because Facebook will not let us change the name. Don't know why, but whatever. All right, guys, so if you like this video, if you like my reasoning, hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, do so, and hit that bell button. Is this the left? Is this the left? Yeah, this is the left. Hit the bell button. Don't forget, it'll give you a notification, okay? All right, ingat, aping, and babush.